dial in too.
Yeah.
I don't.
Aaron, do you have Suzanne's number?
I am not certain if I have it in here. Hang on just a second. I think I probably have her staff. I don't know that I have her number. So
Okay.
here, why don't you give, just give her mine.
Okay.
Or just get real, it's 503
503
812
12
9877. And for
987.
anyone on the call, that's my cell phone. Please feel free to reach out at any time.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So,
I'm going to be calling you, Aaron.
Okay.
okay, let me kick the meeting off and then I'll answer her call. So with the recording has started, so I will go ahead and open the meeting. So this is Commissioner Scar. Today is March 30, 2020, and we'll call this meeting to order at 6:08 p.m. I'd like to welcome you all to the second meeting to discuss Highway 6. Please note that this is a public meeting that will be recorded with video and audio. We ask that you mute your microphone and phones if you are not participating or speaking during the meeting. And for those joining the meeting via phone, you can mute and unmute by pressing *6. Also, if your computer cameras are on, they will become part of the video recording. So if you don't wish to have your face as part of the video recording, you may want to keep your camera off. With that, I will turn the meeting over to Jesse.
Thank you, Aaron. So I want to apologize, everybody. My voice, I lost my voice this morning. I'm a little bit scratchy. Thank you for the commissioners for allowing me to use this platform for Highway 6. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Jesse Burrow. I started Safety on 6 back in April 2021, the last string of accidents in July. Many of you have reached out to me on the side of the road, and Commissioner Aaron Scar, Suzanne Representative Suzanne Weber, Sheriff, all reached out to me and asked how we can help to get this thing going. And so we've come a long ways in the last 8 months, and I'm just very grateful for all of our local state government coming together to unify to ultimately bring safety on Highway 6. So there's a couple things that we're going to talk about tonight. The agenda for tonight is the House Bill 4053, Suzanne Weber and Bill Jimlowski from ODOT is going to talk about that. We're going to talk a little bit about maintenance and a safety corridor, and what we can ultimately do with all these offices between the sheriff office, Oregon State Police, the county commissioners on both sides of the mountain to come together with resources that we already have to make this highway safer. So in the last 8 months since the first town hall meeting, I've reached out to Washington County Commissioner Jerry Wiley. He's going to be coming in here at about 6:30. He's a little bit late to this meeting. He had a prior engagement. I've also reached out to Banks and the Washington County Sheriff over on this side, which is unable to be here at this meeting tonight. So we have an agenda here. We're going to talk about a few things. And towards the tail end, I'm going to open it up to the public. And so if you have any questions and you want to speak towards the tail end about anything we're talking about tonight, type in the chat what your question is and who you want to address that to. Just for time's sake, I want to wrap this meeting up probably by 8 o'clock tonight. So if you can just type in the chat what your question is, or text me and who you want to address that to, and I'll call on you at the tail end of the meeting, and we can get your questions answered. So anyways, I think she told you guys how to unmute yourself, put yourself on the screen when you are wanting to speak. And if I can ask all of the local and state government that got the email that I've invited this to, if you guys can turn your screens on so the public can see you, I would appreciate it. And with that being said, is Suzanne Weber on the call yet?
Yes, I am.
Alrighty, Suzanne, yay.
I made it.
So we're going to start out with you, Suzanne. And I want to thank you for all your work getting that House bill put into, ultimately it's going into law right now. And I've learned quite a bit. I'm not a political guy, and I've learned a lot about putting signs and paint on a highway is quite political. And so you and Aaron have kind of coached me along the way and helped me quite a bit. I testified at the House Representative for the first time ever, done that before. And so it's just been quite the journey to ultimately just get some simple things done on Highway 6. So if you could start us out by talking about House Bill 4053, what that means. And I believe that you are carrying that. And if you can explain what that's going to look like for the public.
Thank you. I really appreciate your doing this, and I really appreciate all of the effort that you have put into this. I will tell you that when I was the mayor of Tillamook, I was very, very concerned about the condition of Highway 6. And we formed a committee, and we met for several years trying to get some action on the condition of Highway 6. And it was various agencies, state and local, and we really worked at examining all of the issues and trying to see just what exactly we could do to make that highway safer and to make sure that our economic viability was secure with that highway, because we had seen what had happened in '96. We had seen what had happened in the other 2 years where we lost our highway. And then I got this job as state representative, and I got it because I was really concerned about the security of our area and what we could do to make sure that we would not only survive, but we would thrive. And so when I had my first opportunity to bring a bill before the House of Representatives, it was right after we had had several serious accidents on Highway 6, and it became very obvious that what we needed to do was we needed to have an action that involved all of ODOT and our state leaders to be able to make sure that that highway was going to continue to exist. And so I proposed House Bill 4053, as it ended up, a bill to study it, because we can talk about pullouts, we can talk about passing lanes, we can talk about cell service, we can talk about the fact that the highway is, of course, sliding off the mountain in a lot of different places, but do we know it all? And after we know it all, do we know how much it's going to cost in order to be able to fix it? And so a study bill to look at the whole highway seemed to be the most expeditious for getting results and making sure that we covered everything, all of the contingencies that were on that highway. And when it was proposed, I was very pleased at the fact that it not only had a lot of positive vibes from a lot of other representatives, but it was a very bipartisan bill in that we had many different folks from both the Republicans and the Democrats who signed on to sponsor that. And then Senator Armitage came on to take Senator Johnson's place. And as soon as she came on, she also signed on to sponsor this bill. And I really appreciated this. Now, a lot of the bills that we have that come before us are pages and pages and pages and pages long. This bill was very short. It wasn't even a half a page. But it really said everything that we wanted it to say. Now, you know, no bill can come to the floor for a vote unless it comes out of a committee. And so House Bill 4053 went to the Transportation, the Joint Transportation Committee, which is the Senate and the House working together. And it came out of that committee with a do pass recommendation, which is very favorable. And then, of course, it came to the House, and I was gratified, immensely gratified, that it passed unanimously in the House. And then it moved to the Senate, and there was a question about how much it was going to cost in order to accomplish this. But it was decided that this could be handled within the ODOT budget, which I think is great, because there wasn't any special allocation of funds then that would make the bill go to Ways and Means, which would then decide whether it could be funded or not. And so in the Senate, it passed unanimously also. It was very gratifying to be able to hear the news that it was finally passed. And I have to tell you that at this point in time, the governor has also signed this bill. And so it's going forward. Today, I had quite a conversation with Ken Schonkweiler from ODOT, and he told me that the request for proposals to begin this is going out, that they have already formulated that. And so that that will be going out to get information back as to how much this will cost and who will be involved in it. Now, there's a very short timeline on this bill, and it is something that we really can't wait forever to find the results of. And it is asking that the information be provided by the 15th of September of 2023. Now, I think that all of you remember that at one point in time, ODOT planted sensors up in the hill where that very active slide is, and said that it would possibly take 2 years to be able to completely measure how that slide is moving. Hopefully that information will be able to be available and reportable on by the 15th of September in 2023, because that is not a long period of time. But actually, what Ken told me today was that they were very pleased to see this action coming forward, because you know, they needed the direction and they needed the support to be able to work on this. And so I'm happy that this is going forward. I'm happy that we're going to get some sort of results. Now, how much this is going to cost in the end, we do not know. This is going to be a very interesting challenge to be able to fund this, because we have no idea what ultimately it's going to end up costing us. But I am sure that once we have all of the information, we will be able to make decisions, and the state will be able to make decisions on this very important roadway. This roadway is not only the way that we support ourselves economically, but it's also the way that people come to the coast to enjoy the coast. And we want that for an additional economic vitality segment to be recognized. And so We don't want anybody to be afraid of going over that road. We want people to travel safely, and we want to know that all of those conditions that make that a safe highway are actually going to be there for us into the future. So Jesse, thank you for all of your work on this. I really appreciate your continued effort on this, and I can hardly wait until the report is available to us in September of 23. So thank you.
Thank you, Representative Weber. I'm going to introduce Bill Jablowski from ODOT. He's going to be the guy he's the guy in charge in our area over here. And actually had a meeting today discussing this bill particularly. So he's got some fresh news for us. You could explain the House bill, what that looks like and what that means from ODOT's perspective, Bill, and in detail explain what the study will entail as far as what you're looking at in the study. Are you looking at just a certain area of Highway 6? Are you looking at from milepost 1 to milepost 51? So if you can explain that to us, Bill, I appreciate it.
Good evening, everyone, and can everyone hear me loud and clear? Perfect, thank you. Jesse, I feel sorry for your voice, and you I can imagine being in there, sitting in the chair, facilitating this is a bit of a challenge. I appreciate your hanging in there and moving forward with it. Good evening, everyone. Thanks, Jesse. Bill Jablonski. I am the ODOT area manager overseeing the northwest part of Oregon, which is my area, which includes Tillamook County. First of all, I really want to congratulate Representative Weber and all the supporters for House Bill 4053 on a job well done and getting that passed through our legislature. I know that those things aren't often easy to do. I kind of wish it came with more money, but we did meet today internally, and we did come up with a funding source for us to be able to fund the effort that we see going through with the end product here of September 15th of 2023. Full transparency, all of our money is spoken for. So we had to do a little maneuvering around and kind of readjusting some schedules of some other projects to free up this money for us to do this effort right now. So we're excited and committed to doing the effort on behalf of the Oregon 6 corridor. I just want to let you know that we've had some early discussions of what Representative Weber alluded to today, talking with our planner, Ken Shonkwaller, but we do have an RFP solicitation out on the street for an engineering and a public involvement firm to help us with this. ODOT staff, of course, is pretty thin on the resource side, so we're not able to do it ourselves in-house with such short notice. So we need to look out to our consulting partners that help us with a lot of our projects statewide and bring their expertise in, and they'll be guided by ODOT staff as well. They won't be on their own. We certainly have some parameters and expectations around what the bill entails and the whole process that's involved from start to finish. We do have a deadline internally ourselves of August 15th. We need to be able to prepare the report in a format and send it through our government relations folks so it can be tidied up and wordsmithed so it's presentable to the Joint Commission on Transportation in September. So we have an internal deadline ourselves of August 15th for that. A little bit more detail on the bill itself. So once we get a consultant firm on board, there'll be some opportunity for us to have a greater discussion of what the core stakeholder group will look like and who needs to be at the table, and make sure we don't miss folks who need to be represented at the table, whether it's law enforcement, freight, transportation, both Washington, Tillamook County, residents. We'll just begin the process in determining who needs to be that core group at the table on the regular meetings. We've also looked at creating a project website. We haven't really branded the project yet, whether it's an OR6 safety audit, OR6 planning study, OR6 corridor plan. Yet to be determined, maybe with the group's help as well too, on what it really represents for the House bill to meet the criteria. So look forward to that here in the next, I'd say next couple of months, that we'll have consultant on board, we'll be able to start with that core group of stakeholders that we can come together. The project website is something ODOT feels would be a good clearinghouse for all interested stakeholders. People could sign up for regular announcements. They could leave feedback. I would suspect the requirement for ODOT having these planning studies is a large public involvement component. So I would suspect we're going to have opportunities for in-person meeting as well as virtual meetings too. That will span, so people realize they don't have to travel so far, and having locations in different locations between Washington and Tillamook counties might be beneficial to have virtual meetings as well too, to help bring more people in who are interested and be able to participate as well. Yeah, Jesse, some of the details, of course, are spelled out in the bill itself. I have it in front of me. If I can just read them real quickly, we have to look at an assessment of the existing conditions of Oregon 6. And Oregon 6, how we read the bill is the entire corridor. So from mile point 1 to 51, or mile point 0 to 51 through Washington and Tillamook counties will be the entire study area for this Oregon 6 review. As well as the existing conditions of Oregon 6, we're going to look for information.
Bill, I think we lost you. I'm not sure if you have frozen on the screen and we can't hear you.
I'm sending him a text message now, so he'll know.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
I IM'd him as well, Mark.
Well, we got a few minutes here while we get Mark back or Bill back. I just wanted to, I've been in contact with a couple of the families that have lost loved ones up on Highway 6, and the Pierce family, and wants to thank everybody for their support in making Highway 6 safer. So she just wanted to let everybody know that.
So, hi, everybody. Since Bill's paused, I'll introduce myself. My name is Michelle, and I'm the communications for Region 2. I'll fill in some space real quick. Bill mentioned a website that we're going to be developing. And what he didn't mention yet was that to get signed up for the updates that will be coming down the road, there is going to be an interested parties list that is currently available now. So I'm going to put the link in the chat so that you guys all have access to it. And our hope is that the web page, the corridor page, will be the source of truth and the status of where we're at, what events are coming, and how you can participate. So we'll keep that updated. We'll also have contact information for Mark and Bill on the page so that if any questions come up. Ken Schonkweiler will also be on the page. He's our planner who will be managing the contract with the firm that we're going to bring on board. So we'll have everything in one little spot so that at any time, anybody who's interested would be able to go on and see what the effort, where we're at with the effort and who to contact for questions. Bill is not responding back to my IM, so I have a feeling Astoria must be having some high winds or something. His internet's out. Mark, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, not regarding the website. Bill's not answering my text either. So, and I can attest to the lack of reliability of the internet system in Astoria. So,
I'm back on if you folks
there
hear
he
me.
is. Yeah.
We hear him. Okay.
So where did I lose you guys?
You were in the middle of reading the bill.
Oh, okay.
What the expectations of the bill were.
I apologize for losing the link. It usually is pretty good. I'm on my my cell phone now, so hopefully you can see and hear me a little bit better as opposed to losing me. So again, I'm sorry, I apologize. So Jesse, the contents of the bill really requires ODOT to look at the assessment of the existing conditions, and then look at the regarding the deficiencies of the road condition itself, and then recommendations for improving those conditions on Oregon 6 route, providing a cost estimate, and then any other information that that ODOT deems important or pertinent to the report itself. And I suspect we'll put some content around that. The deficiencies might be in safety, they might be in deficiencies in freight, being able to move freight through Oregon 6 to the corridor. So we'll be able to look at putting some content around some of those criteria that were listed in the bill as well. And unless you have some questions, Jesse, I think I've done my explanation on the House bill that ODOT's going to propose to do.
Okay. Yes, I do. One thing specifically for that study is it going to include the intersection of Wilson River Loop and Highway 6?
Yes, so from mile point 0 all the way to the end in Washington County, that all sections of Oregon 6 will be reviewed.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so I sent you that list of questions that I specifically had just in general for ODOT. It's not necessarily maybe pertaining
Sure.
to this House bill, but moving forward, what is on ODOT's agenda for maintenance for 2022, 23, 24? I don't know if you want me to go through each one of these questions at once, or do you want to answer them individually?
Mark will have to help me. We'll have to do this together. So Mark, do you have a preference on how to respond?
Yeah, Jesse, if you want to save your voice, I printed out the questions and I responded to them so that I can read, so that way you don't have to ask them all if you'd like. So you had asked what is on ODOT's agenda for maintenance in 2022, 23, and 24. So ODOT maintenance has a list of regular activities that we apply to every highway in the district. And so for those who don't know me, I'm the District 1 manager, and there's 4 counties in the district, mirrors Bill's area. And so in all those counties, Clatsop, Columbia, Tillamook, and Washington, all the state highways are ours to take care of. And so we have a lot of basically general maintenance activities that we do on every highway. So you asked that question, a lot of them are seasonal. So in the wintertime, we de-ice, we sand, we plow. In the summertime, we cut brush and we pave and remove litter. In the springtime, we do herbicide application, pothole patching, that kind of stuff. And in the fall, we clean drains and clean ditches in preparation for winter time. Then we have the kind of the unplanned activities, which is picking up debris, animal carcasses, and responding to incidents such as crashes, trucks and cars. There is also sign and delineator maintenance that goes on through the year. And then bridge maintenance activities. We have a bridge maintenance crew that's all they do is just keep bridges, take care of them. I'm sure that we're going to have to require, Oregon 6 is going to require the major maintenance patching that we do in the slide area around milepost 35. We do that every year. We do it in the summertime. A couple of years ago, we actually ground out the entire worst part of the slide area to kind of give us a flat surface to start over again. But yearly, we just do what we call blade patching, which is use a grader to drag asphalt across the cracks and the sinks and fill that area in. So that's pretty much the maintenance that we plan on doing. Which is just basically between the 2 right-of-way lines on each side of the highway. We're responsible for everything to maintain except the utilities. So we don't take care of power poles and lines and things like that. So is that does that answer your question before I move to the next one, Jesse?
Yes.
Okay. Another question you ask is, what is the budget for Oregon 6 and how does maintenance get figured in for this highway? So the budget for Oregon 6 is not set. Oregon 6 is what I would call a needy highway. There's a lot of extra maintenance that occurs on Oregon 6 because of the slide area. So just so you know, I took an average of what we spent over the last 3 years. It's about $700,000 that we spent each year over the last 3 years. So we spend the maintenance dollars in the, based across all the highways in the district and according to need and priority. So, we have some pretty major highways in the district: US 30, US 26, US 101. Those are generally a higher level of service highway because of their the amount of traffic that uses them, freight routes for trucks, things like that. So so we have to prioritize, across the district. We consider Oregon 6 120-mile highway, so about 60 miles in each direction when you count passing lanes and turn lanes. And so it's a fairly short highway compared to some highways that we have, but it does require a lot of asphalt patching in the summertime and a lot of winter maintenance because of the pass in the wintertime. You also asked who makes the decision on what happens and when. So myself and the maintenance managers that work for me make those decisions. So in the case of Oregon 6, there's 2 maintenance managers involved, one in Tillamook and one in Manning. They split the highway about evenly at the top of the summit. The Manning crew actually comes over the summit a little bit. So they and myself, we evaluate and prioritize what needs to be done each year. Probably really more than once each year. We do it throughout the year. This also includes the way that we fund bridge maintenance. We also, in the district have to fund drawbridge maintenance and sign maintenance for all the highways in the district. So that's pretty much how those decisions are made. A lot of times it's made according to need. Something will happen. We'll have a landslide. We'll have to go in and spend some extra money, spend some extra time on the highway, and that happens on all the highways in the district. Pretty much all the highways in the district have landslide problems. So you had also asked, can you explain to the public the procedure for painting lines on the highway? What do we need to do to change that to make this happen in the spring and the fall? So I talked to the region striping crew manager. He does not work directly for me, but we do cooperate with each other. The current system only paints in the summertime, as you probably know. He did tell me that part of the reason that they only do that is that they have a finite weather window to do the entire region. And so they don't just do my district with its 4 counties, but they also do all the highways in the region, which is Northwest Oregon minus the Portland area. So it's Eugene, Salem, on the coast down to Florence in that area. So they have to get all the highways painted. And then in the wintertime, it's not a good weather window to stripe the highway. The highway has to have been dry for 3 or 4 days in order to stripe, and the temperatures need to be conducive to striping. One thing he did tell me is that he is planning on using what is called high build paint this year. They've been experimenting with it on highways like US 30 and US 26. It does hold up better to snow plows. He thinks that it will last all year long, but he also made the commitment to me that if it didn't last all year long on Oregon 6, that they would attempt to come in the wintertime like they did this winter. We did have like a 4-day period this winter where they were able to come in and it was dry and sunny and warm enough that they got it restriped. So he has made that commitment to me. Additionally, we're having talks with the 3M company about using some experimental pavement marking. And Highway 6 is one. I haven't got all the details yet, but they're indicating to me that they have some materials that will last longer than maybe what we're using. So you had also asked about the reflectors in the center line and the delineators on the edge of the road, or the sight posts as we call them. Cleaning and fixing delineators is a year-round, through the year process, but we do a lot of it in the spring because snow plows tend to dirty them up, knock them down. People slide off the road in the snow, and they hit them and bend them. And so on Highway 6, they have the month of March, the 2 crews have gone through and straightened, cleaned, and replaced those reflectors on the sight posts. For the center recessed pavement markers, I have asked the region for money to replace those. They've indicated to me that that will happen this summer. So the recessed markers will be replaced and freshened up. Recessed markers are effective. Unfortunately, when it rains, the pockets that they're in fill with water and it makes them not as shiny. You may have noticed if you go to Portland, they have raised pavement markers. They use rubber snow plow blades, which allow them to plow over those raised markers and not peel them off. That doesn't work well in our district because, as you know, up on the summit of 6 and 26, we get a lot of snow. And so we have elected to go with the recessed pavement markers because of that. Otherwise, we wouldn't have any kind of reflectors up there after a snowplow went through. We use steel bits on our snowplows so that we can hopefully keep it as clear as possible. The other question you had asked was about some wide, long shoulders that are paved and marking them as pullouts. That is not within my authority. I'll ask the tech center to examine those areas. A traffic engineer and a roadway engineer really need to decide whether that's suitable to handle traffic. Shoulders, people can use them to pull off on, but to actually encourage people to use them as a pullout, they have to, allow for egress and entrance back onto the highway. And there's some science applied to that I'm not sure exactly what it is. So we'll have them look into those particular paved areas. So I think that was all your questions. I feel free to ask if you need a clarification on any of those answers.
Yes. Can you talk about the rumble strips? I know that was actually I believe it was on the calendar to be done in 2025, but you guys were saying something about pumping that up, or is that something that's just going to be kind of included into this bill now?
I'll let you
Mark,
take
I
that.
can take that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Jesse. Yeah, I can take that rumble strips, the safety corridor, and the Wilson River loop and Oregon 6 intersection. Let me take those. Let me also start out by telling the group that just because we're having a study of Oregon 6 does not preclude ODOT for pursuing other safety projects and other funding sources for our projects that we have, not just Oregon 6, but of all of our highways in the district, in the area. So, recently the slide area went through with the Northwest Act, sponsored an enhanced application to look at having design money for that slide area on Oregon 6. Unfortunately, it did not compete well statewide with the other enhanced applications. But we're still going to go look at possibly the infrastructure bill. We're going to add that to the list and see if we can compete, at least start with the design work on that as well too. The ongoing investigation, the monitors that are going on there are reading information. Our technical folks are going out either monthly or quarterly and gathering that information so they can be able to start the design on how deep down that slide actually has to go for us to have some kind of at least some kind of a concept of what the repair or fix might be. So, and other items we're looking at as well too, that are already programmed in the STIP. We have a barrier upgrade project. So it's basically all the guardrail along the whole section of Oregon 6 from mile point 0 to 51 or 50, whatever the terminus mile point is. And that is ready to get started. We're going to do it by a consultant. They'll do a survey of all the entire length of the corridor and the length and need of the upgrades for the guardrail. So that will start. I can't say the construction will be this year, more like end of 22 or into 23. We also have the rumble strip project that you mentioned, Jesse. The region likes to do it in a bucket, and so you include other counties, and so you can have one particular product and send it out as a group. So we have one contractor goes to different locations and do those. Because of the sensitivity and complexity of Oregon 6, we're going to pull the mile points out of that bucket project and have it as a standalone project to do just the rumble strips, the center rumble strips in Oregon 6 before 2025. So that is something that I'm working on and pulling that project apart and identifying just the Oregon 6 route and for those rumble strips needs. So I'm working on doing that as well too. We just completed a scoping effort for the next STIP, which is 2024 to 2027. And we propose to put $3 million at the fix of Oregon 6 and Wilson River Loop Road. It's mainly the right turn lane when you're westbound on Oregon 6. We're looking at doing a buffered right turn lane to help provide, open up that pocket that sometimes cars are hidden behind when a car is trying to take a right off the highway, and the people turning east on Oregon 6 from Wilson River Loop Road can't see the oncoming cars coming still westbound in Oregon 6. So that is a project there that's going to go into our next STIP that we're proposing to do as well.
Okay, this is Suzanne, and you keep referring to STIP, and I know what it means, but I'm not sure that people understand what you mean when you say STIP.
Sure. Thank you, Representative Weber. I sometimes forget my audience. So the STIP is really the statewide transportation improvement program, and and ODOT puts it together every 2 years. We put together enough projects to last 2 years and then 2 years beyond that. So there's an overlap of 2 years for projects. So it's kind of our wayfinding for when funding comes in from state and federal dollars. We're able to program and plan what those projects are. And so that's what's referred to as a STIP. So it's basically our roadmap for future work and future projects on all of our highways around the state.
Awesome. Thank you, Bill.
May I ask it? Excuse me, but may I ask another question?
Go for it.
Sure.
I'm sorry, I haven't prepared this question for you, but one of the things near the Wilson River Loop is the size of the letters on the signs. And at one point in time, there was a specific requirement as to how big the letters were on the signs, and I think that has changed, and the letters can be bigger so that they can be more easily seen by people who are coming into the area who may not have been in the area before. And so is there a possibility of changing the signs in the area of the Wilson River Loop exchange so that they will be more visible by being larger?
A good question, Representative Weber. What I can do is I can ask our traffic folks. You know, it's a nationwide consistency on the lettering versus how fast the traveling public is going in that corridor determines the length and the height of the letters, even the spacing of the letters. It's beyond me. I'm not technical in that way, but I can ask our region folks and determine and find out what's out there right now. And does it need to be brought up to a new standard, or is it still in play? I can ask the question and get back to you and Jesse as well.
Bill, I sure would appreciate that, because people coming into town after they have gone past that and missed the Wilson River Loop, either to the north or going to the south to the fairgrounds, have expressed to me that if you're coming at probably you're on a straight stretch and you're probably going over 55 miles an hour. And I'm sure that the signs are sized for someone who is following the speed limit, but if you're not, you may not be able to discern where those roads go. And so that's why I'm asking that particular question. Thank you.
Sure. Let me follow up, Representative Weber, and get back to you and Jesse as well.
Also,
Thank you.
David Yamamoto, Commissioner, you have a question?
Thank you, Jesse. I do appreciate this. I just want to address something that Mark was saying when he was giving his report. And I'm a former member of the Northwest Act also. But I know there are other highways in the area. You mentioned Highway 30, Highway 26, Highway 101, Highway 18. I know those are all important, but especially for Tillamook County. We've got two major mills, Hampton and Stimson, that since our railroad went down, all of their product moves to market now via truck. And the creamery, I mean, they are major users of the highway. So I know there are many other highways in the area, but for the economy of Tillamook County, Highway 6 is really paramount for Tillamook County. So I just wanted to mention that. And I know you've got great responsibilities. I don't.
I appreciate that, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. I want to touch base again on that safety corridor bill. The last meeting, the first, are you there, Bill? Look froze.
I'm here. Yep, I'm here.
Okay. The first meeting, you said that Highway 6 didn't quite meet the criteria, and we talked about criteria for what a highway has to meet to get a safety corridor. Can you touch base on that again for the viewers on here on this meeting and what that would look like moving forward to get that, to get qualified for that?
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Jesse. Let's remind everyone, last time we had our meeting, we talked about the safety corridor. Now I know that it's also a competitive process. So other highway corridors that have, based on the level of accidents and the rating of those accidents, as far as the safety factor goes, those are the corridors, usually it's one or two maybe that are in play at a time. And those folks then actually qualify for additional funding and additional grants for safety funding, like for OSP to provide coverage.
Lost you, Bill.
I think this means I have to step in again.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Rochelle.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Oh, he's back. Yay.
There you are. Yes, there you are.
Okay. I don't know. I can see everyone until I start speaking, then I go off. I don't know. I understand why. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Okay, so back to the safety corridor. Can everyone still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so Oregon 6 unfortunately is not going to compete well with the safety corridor designation for the additional funds and for the money that would go for OSP. But I want to give a shout out to Mark Buffington. So Mark Buffington's budget is actually paying for and offsetting what would be provided in a designation for a safety corridor. So the additional signage, the striping, the attention to delineators and mile point markers, all the things that would go in a safety corridor would be extra money that a district would get to pay. Mark is funding this outside of his budget without the additional help to basically do the work you would have in a designated corridor. I know that the Oregon State Police for the Tillamook section has received 135 overtime hours at their discretion to do coverage as they have officers available to cover the corridor on 6. And that is at their disposal for this next year. It just actually started. So that's something of an effort that's outside of what a corridor designation funding would pay for. So in a way, even though Oregon 6 is not designated as a safety corridor, it's getting the money and the treatment that a safety corridor would receive.
Awesome. That was actually one of my next questions to talk about as far as OSP. We do have one of the lieutenants on the call, and I'll be calling on him in a little bit, but understanding that you guys, that ODOT gave that grant, or whatever you guys want to call it, for OSP to do some more patrolling up there on Highway 6.
Right.
So I think that's all I got for the moment. I guess we'll move on to Samantha Goodwin and communication, talking about communications for Highway 6. She reached out to me here about a month ago at a dinner for the first responders that I put on, and she says I have something to say. And so, anyways, you wanna explain what you got going on, Samantha?
Yeah, thank you so much, Jesse. I appreciate being able to be here and be part of this town hall. I was hoping to be able to share some slides, but it doesn't look like I have permissions for that right now. So I wonder, is it possible to get that? And
Hi, Jesse, this is Isabel. I can give Samantha permission if that's okay. Yep.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, Isabel, this is Commissioner Scar. That would be great if you could give Samantha permissions.
thank you, Commissioner Scar. Okay. Okay, great. So, can everybody see my slides? Okay, great, perfect.
Yes.
So, yeah, so the reason I approached Jesse to be part of this meeting is because Tillamook County is currently pursuing a grant to build internet infrastructure along Highway 6. This is part of Tillamook County's broader efforts to improve internet access in the county. And so I wanted to talk to you guys about what we're trying to do here. So we have found an excellent opportunity to receive some federal grant money through the USDA Rural Utility Services that would allow us to build fiber internet cables all the way up Highway 6, almost all the way to Glenwood. The purpose of this, of the grant, would be to serve the communities along Highway 6 that currently have very poor internet access, and to bring fiber to the home connections to the communities along Highway 6. So I've got the map here that shows our initial idea for what this grant build out would look like. You can see we have 5 residential service zones in the area where we'd be extending fiber to the home connections to every residence in those areas. And what that would look like would be, they won't connect it to your house unless you want them to, but it will go, right outside, right on the street, right outside your house, which makes the connection really easy for the future. This fiber cable fiber is the highest speed, most reliable type of internet connection that is available right now. It's the top of the line infrastructure. And when we were looking at this grant, we immediately realized the potential that this has to make a difference in the safety on Highway 6 problems that we have. We know that the lack of internet service is a real concern along this whole corridor. And when you're looking at placing residential internet infrastructure, that means that we're going to have a lot of fiber cable that's available for other projects. So some of you might know that there already are fiber cables running up Highway 6, but those cables are not intended to be used in a sort of residential way. They're kind of throughways. They go straight through without stopping. This infrastructure would be designed to be used by all of the residents along the way, and that gives us a lot of opportunity for other uses as well. So thinking about this, not only would all of the communities along Highway 6 have faster internet than a lot of people in most other places, we'd also be able to use the fiber to offer a lot of other services in the future. There's a possibility for fixed wireless internet, which is where instead of using wires, you're just sort of beaming the internet across the distance for people to pick up. And we're also interested in looking at whether having this accessible fiber would be a good incentive to place cell towers in this area. Cell towers are all connected to the internet, and in a lot of cases, you need to have that internet infrastructure before you can build a cell tower. And it also opens door to the possibility of having public Wi-Fi in some of the recreation areas along this corridor, which would be a huge benefit to anybody traveling in the area. If you just think about being able to, when you're at the trailhead, we all know how crowded some of these trailheads can be, some of the river access areas can be, to be able to for people to be able to quickly text their family that they'll be late or something like that. We're seeing the possibility for there to be a lot of reduction in like search and rescue operations and things like that that happen up there with the tourists. So this grant is would be fully funded. So we're looking at a grant that has no match requirements and will be fully funded by the USDA Reconnect dollars. So it's just an amazing opportunity to be building almost 30 miles of internet cable and then also connecting so many homes in the area and the possibilities for future connections. The reason I wanted to bring it up at this meeting is because we really need the public's help to support this grant. One of the things that we can do that really makes our grant more competitive is we need to show the need. We need to show that there is a need for better internet in these areas. So I know if any of y'all live up there or have ever even been up there, then it's probably pretty clear to you that the people up there need better internet. But we do need to be able to prove that when we are submitting this grant. So I've put a website on the screen here. It's called Speed Up America, and it is a place where you can go and test your internet speed. And as we continue to work on improving internet throughout the county, as we're looking at other grants we can apply for, we could really use as many speed tests from everyone in the whole county if we could. We'd really like to be able to see how every single person's internet connection is going, because if we can show that your neighborhood, your street, your neighbors need better internet, then that gives us a case to help get you it. So specifically for Highway 6, we also have, you can go do the speed test. You'll want to do this on your home internet, so not on your mobile data. That would be testing cell phone speed, which is not what we're looking for here. We're looking for what is the internet service that you pay for at your house and how fast it is. So if you can do that while connected to your Wi-Fi, or if you have a, like a desktop computer that's connected to your home internet, that's what we're trying to test. And you don't need to worry about submitting it in this case, because it goes to a publicly accessible database, so that way we can all access it, which is amazing. So that's really what I wanted to say for if you live anywhere in the county. We'd love you to do a speed test. This is going to be so helpful for us when we're applying for grants to help improve our internet infrastructure in the county. For this specific project, if you live in one of these areas that were on the map along Highway 6, sort of East Tillamook, all the way up even across the border into Washington County, then you can help us in an even more specific way by writing a direct letter of support for our grant. And I've put a little URL here that leads to a sort of pre-made form. It says it's at tinyurl.com/highway6connect is the little easy link to click, and it's going to bring you to an online form. And there are just 4 easy steps to this form. You sign the letter. There's an option for you to add a little bit of a personal story about your own struggles with poor internet connection, or how you think this grant could really impact your life. And that can be very influential with this type of grant. They want to see how they're going to be helping people and changing lives. So that's really great, but you don't have to do that. It's optional. And then the second part of this is a small form. It's going to allow you to put in take the speed test and then kind of put in what it tells you your download and upload speed are. That's going to be important for us because if we can show that your speeds are really low and your internet is really bad, that's just the proof we need to get you better internet. And then there's just 3 questions about your internet service, and then you submit it. And if we can collect as many of these as possible, that's going to add a lot of weight to our grant application. So I think that's it. And what I'm going to do, I will stop sharing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my contact information in the chat, and I'm going to put the URLs I mentioned in case anybody wants to go ahead and click on them. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Samantha. Can you also send that information to me, email that to me, and I'll get that on my page.
Of course.
Thank you. All right, so next up, Aaron Scar, Commissioner Aaron Scar. You could talk a little bit about, we've had a discussion about TLT funds, and if you could kind of explain that to the public, and then talk about the Northwest Act and what that is, and I don't think a lot of people, I didn't know about it until I started this project, and also talk a little bit about that.
Sure. Thank you, Jesse. I'd be happy to. I'm actually going to start with the Northwest Act since it's come up a number of times in relation to the conversation. The Northwest Act is the Northwest area. I'm going to have to read because I just always call it the Act. The Northwest Oregon Area Commission on Transportation, and Commissioner Yamamoto has served on it, Commissioner Bell has served on it, and currently I serve on it. And it is, it's chartered by the Oregon Transportation Commission to address transportation issues in Columbia, Clatsop, Tillamook, and the western portion of Washington counties. In fact, I see Commissioner Willie with us, and he sits on that with us as well. So the Northwest Act is one of 12 commissions in Oregon. So there are different regions, and each one has an act which allows stakeholders to come together and talk about the transportation issues in their region, and then the opportunity to have some influence. And Bill mentioned the enhanced grant as an example. So that came before the Northwest Act, and we looked at all the priorities and different pieces that we were working on and agreed that Highway 6 was what we wanted to promote for the enhanced grant. As he suggested, or as he shared, it was unfortunately not funded. But those are the types of opportunities that the Northwest Act has to provide both feedback to ODOT and to provide guidance as to what the highest priorities are in the region. So they meet every other month. And in fact, they've got a great website if you want to look at what they've been working on, what information's been shared there. And that is nwact.nworegon.org. And I will drop that into the chat as well. There are agendas and minutes from past meetings that you can take a look at. I will also share that at this time, Tillamook County has an opening for member at large on the Act. So if there's someone on this call that is interested in being a member of the Act, I would ask you to reach out to me at the commission, and I will put my name in the chat or my email in the chat as well. Because we would like to get another member at large on there. So just say that's briefly the Northwest Act, and I invite you to take a quick look at the website and see what's been going on with the Act. It's a great way to learn more about what's happening in the region from a transportation perspective, as well as to help Tillamook's voice be heard amidst that regional voice. But it is also important that if you choose to get involved, that you're really able to see the regional perspective. Sometimes what we really see as important in Tillamook County is important to us, but we have to be able to look at the broader picture of all of the counties and really understand that we won't always come out on top, and to be a really good team player in that work. So I invite people who are interested, please do reach out to me. The other conversation that Jesse and I have been having around the transient lodging tax is there's constantly a question as we look at how we can fund things, for example, on Highway 6 or other roadways in Tillamook County, particularly county roads. The question is why don't we collect all of this transient lodging tax? Why doesn't it all just go to the roads? Why can't we use it for the projects that we see are important in the community? And I wanted to address that really quickly. So back in, I believe it was 2013, the state legislature passed the law that allowed counties to collect a transient lodging tax. And that could only be done if it went to a vote of the people who said, yes, I am willing to be taxed. So in I believe it was 2013 or actually it's 2014, I believe it went in front of the voters in Tillamook County. And the piece that the voters were really interested in was 30% of what you collect in transient lodging tax can be used by the local government for local purposes. And in our case, that 30% goes directly to county roads. So of the full transient lodging tax that we collect, 30% goes to the county roads department. It's a significant and very important part of the county roads budget. So it leaves the question, what happens to the other 70%? And this is where people get confused and concerned. So the 70% then has to be used for various tourism activities. So of the 70%, 30% of it goes to tourism promotion or sustainability. In our case, we work with Visit Tillamook Coast on tourism sustainability. We are no longer promoting, actively to say we need a lot of people here. We're saying, how do we really help our tourists understand our area and how to best recreate with us, what we're here to do, how to be good stewards, those kind of messages. But that 30% is absolutely required under the law to go to those types of activities. Then 70% goes to tourism-related facilities. There are very specific rules as to what makes a tourism-related facility, and roads are in fact not allowed. So it's a very interesting sort of conundrum that it puts us in the sense that one of the big things that tourists require in our area are roadways. Another one is public safety. This comes up frequently. Why don't we use TLT to pay for public safety? It's not allowed. So the law was passed with very strong support of the Oregon Restaurant and Lodging Association. They are the ones who sort of have shepherded this to the legislature and continue to be a strong voice for it in the legislature. And they are super clear that they are not looking for that either the split to be changed or the uses to be changed. So Jesse and I had just had some really good conversation about the transient lodging tax, what it can do for us, what it does do for us, and what it cannot do for us. So Jesse, does that cover what you were thinking? You can just give me a nod.
Yes, it does. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
So you betcha. One other piece with that. So what I will share is the transient lodging tax does have the possibility of supporting a variable message sign on Highway 6. So I have been working with Nan Devlin at Visit Tillamook Coast to explore that possibility, a message sign that would allow us as a local community to be able to put up messages. They still have to be done in coordination with an approval by ODOT because it will be sitting next to an ODOT roadway. And there are a million requirements and permits and different pieces. So we don't expect that this will happen quickly, but it is in the works to try to find a location where we could put up a message board that could say things like drive safely, just to kind of remind people of the importance of that. So it is underway, and we'll let you know as more comes to light.
Awesome. Thank you, Erin. That was very informative. So I want to kind of move on to, the last meeting we talked about, I talked with the sheriff. There's pretty much three things on Highway 6 that are kind of our problem areas. And that is, one, you have the infrastructure and the maintenance of the highway. Two, you have the behavior of the motorist on Highway 6. And then three, you have the lack of police presence. So it's these three things in it. And I have a lot of conversations with the people, with state and local government and ODOT, and everybody's always, the public's always pointing the finger at government and ODOT. And it's not just them that's the problem. It's not just the road. The road, theoretically, in the middle of the night when there's nobody on it, I can get over it and it's actually a pleasant drive. I mean, it's a little bumpy and you got some potholes and stuff, but you know, a lot of it is behavior issues from motorists that are getting in a vehicle, and it really comes down to all of us being the example of how we drive on that road. You know, understanding that tourist season is coming up, and we know that it's going to take a little bit longer. You know, we know that, you know, there's going to be the slow drivers that are going to drive 35 and speed up in the passing lanes and not let anybody by. We know that. So it really comes to us setting the example of giving ourselves a little bit more time, setting example for our kids, you know, our teenagers that are in the vehicles with us. And how do you model your driving experience? Because maybe they're 13, 14, 15, you know, going to be driving here soon. And what are we modeling for them? Are we texting? Are we driving? Are we, you know, do we have road rage? Are we passing maybe when we shouldn't be passing? And, you know, you leave your lane of traffic, but then you're not able to get back into the lane before it's, you know, before the double yellow line. You're breaking the law. And that's how accidents are happening. That's how all these head-on accidents are happening. Most of them are people leaving the lane. So I want to bring up Josh, and we got Sergeant Matt Gordon from OSP on. And you know, last time I've worked very closely with Josh, Sheriff, about what we can do with the resources that we have, understanding that funding is an issue on all across the board in all of these offices. But you know, Josh is actually, his leadership, I very much admire that, because you know, he's reached out with the county commissioners and ODOT and the city police. We actually had the city police up there, and he's worked together with all these different offices to get more presence of police up there on the mountain. And I'm very grateful for that. And so, you know, Josh, if you want to get on here, and Josh and Matt, if you guys want to get on here and talk a little bit about that, what we can do moving forward, you know, really I guess my question is, and this is to all of everybody across the board between ODOT, local government, state government, and our sheriff and OSP, of what we can do in tourist season. What we can do in the next handful of months up through Labor Day to really just focus on making this highway the safest we can make it, so we're not losing 7 people this year on Highway 6. And what we can do in the short term with the resources that we currently have. If you want to go ahead and
I'll do what I can and say what I you know, try to answer some of those the best I can. And I did see Sergeant Gordon on here, and I'm sure he would probably love to give his 2 cents as well. But what I can say is, yeah, a little bit ago, after there was a series of some pretty, you know, serious crashes up on Highway 6, we were able to, you know, make some changes, offer some overtime shifts. OSP was able to join in on that, and Tillamook City Police, as you mentioned, was able to join on that, and really kind of get the message out there that we're going to take it seriously as well. Now, in the interim, there's a couple things that I'd like to touch on that you know, you mentioned that funding is an issue. Absolutely, funding is an issue. What's happening right now, and this is really important for everybody to understand, is actual staffing levels. Now, I understand that hiring and finding employees across the board for every line of work is an issue, but law enforcement is getting hit pretty darn hard, and it's not just Tillamook County Sheriff's Office. It's pretty much every sheriff's office. It's pretty much every, you know, municipal agency. It's Oregon State Police. You know, Sergeant Gordon's having the similar issues as we are, and so we're at a point where we're running on, you know, borderline critical staff levels. You know, we're going to be short on our forest patrol. We're going to be short on our marine patrol. We're going to be short on regular patrol, short in our detective's office. And so, you know, we have a phenomenal team here that is very passionate about doing everything that they can for this county. but it comes to a point where sometimes they need a break, you know, so, and I'm not saying that as trying to get out of covering Highway 6 or covering the regular roads, because we still will do that. We will do everything we can. We're working on plans where we may even start looking for volunteers that maybe can help, you know, do some chores around here. Hopefully we'll get our reserve program back up and running. We have the radar trailers and trying to be able to get those out. Those are resources available to us. Again, it's timing and the ability to get them up there and things of that nature. I know Sergeant Gordon had a handful of his troopers out there over the course of the weekend, and I believe he mentioned to me that it was some overtime hours that he was able to offer. And I think Bill talked about some of the hours that were offered to Tillamook OSP. But again, they're running into the same type of staffing issues. And so just because we have the overtime does not necessarily mean that every trooper is going to jump on that and go up there immediately and say, okay. And if I'm talking, if I'm saying things I shouldn't be, Matt, then you can correct me when you get on here. But like I said, I'm just kind of bringing up that staffing is a huge hurdle right now. The other thing that's important to consider, and this is for both Oregon State Police as well as the Sheriff's Office, and I'm sure most everybody's aware there was a pretty horrific crash on Highway 101 and in Idaville Flats with some very, you know, a number of patients. And so we do have other highways that we have to try to balance our coverage on. You know, I do remember we were putting some heavy coverage on Highway 6 and we had a fatal crash on 101 in Cloverdale on the very day that we were actually putting heavy pressure on Highway 6. So it's just, that is an almost immediate effect of showing how that coverage for the entire county is important. And as I said, I'm not trying to say in any way, shape, or form that we're not going to cover Highway 6. It's challenges that we have to face and make that balance. It's challenges that every single law enforcement agency is in fact fighting right now. And so we're doing that balance. I think that we've done a pretty good job thus far, and I think our partnerships, say with OSP, Sergeant Gordon, Tillamook City Police, is really, really good, and we've been able to do some really, really good things with low numbers of staff. So, you know, and that's going to continue, and we're going to keep doing everything we can, because it is our job to do everything in our power to protect this community the best way that we can. And having that presence up there is very, very important. It's every bit as important there as it is at any other stretch of road or highway where we do have serious crashes on you know, any type of a regular basis. So I don't know if that fully answered all of your questions, but you know, it is kind of a reality we're facing. But at the same time, it is important that everybody on here understand that we do take safety on 6 very serious, and you know, we're working towards that. So I'll turn it over to Sergeant Gordon, and if I misspoke, Matt, go ahead and correct me, and if I missed anything, go ahead and fill me in or fill it in.
We'll see if the audio is on this.
I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So the 135 hours from ODOT, that's come up a couple of times now. We haven't seen that yet at the local level. It may be over at headquarters in Salem, but until they send it out to us, we can't do anything on that. We have to have it approved through our whole process before we can be able to get guys out to work on it. So the sheriff's talking about it a couple of weekends ago. Washington County ran an op on their side of the hill, and we ran one over on our side, and we basically utilized speed grant overtime, which we get a small, I think for the year span that we had 24 hours. So we burned through about 3/4 of the amount of hours that we had for the year doing that one op. Like the sheriff said, staffing is always a huge issue. So our full slated strength over here in Tillamook, if we fill all of them, it would be 6 people. And that's for the entire county. And the problem you run into is right now, Astoria has 3 troopers. Lincoln County has 3 troopers. We've got recruits in the pipeline, people that are possibly coming over. But until they get some of those backfilled, there's times where a troop from Tillamook will have to run down into Lincoln County to cover a call, or run up into Clatsop County to cover a call, and occasionally over to Washington County. They're usually able to cover their stuff, but occasionally we still have to do that. If they would give me more people, I would gladly take them. If you can figure out a way to make them give me more people, I would be very happy. Like the sheriff said, there's an absolute ton of highways, and as soon as we start focusing on one, it seems like something kicks off on the other. 6 is important, as for all the reasons that have been stated by Commissioner Yamamoto. and everyone else has come on through this, it is kind of the lifeblood for the county. That's where the majority of the financial stuff runs through. That's where the majority of the tourists come back across. So we do try to get people up there as often as we can. It's just a matter of as soon as we send somebody up there, we get a crash down at 94 on 101, which is just short of the border with Lincoln County. And then we were spending an hour running down for an injury crash. If they can get us to 8 people, if they bump our strength up to that, that would give us 2 guys on per shift, which then gives us the ability to spread people out further into the counties and not have to be completely out of position for it. The other issue that we run into, and the sheriff does too with stuff, is the state parks. There's a lot of state parks in Tillamook County, and unfortunately, the people that go there like to maybe indulge themselves a little bit too much, and then the fight starts, and now we're tied up on that instead of being out on the highway. And just like you said, it's a challenge right now to get people to just be able to get people you can hire and be able to get them out there. And then once we hire a person, it's about 18 months from when we initially hired them to when they're out and viable as an additional person on the road. We've got 4 out on the road right now. We've got 2 in the process, but as soon as we get those 2 up, we're going to lose one of our guys that are on the road. So we'll be back down to 5. So it's the never ending cycle of, hey, look, we're almost at full strength and now we're back down. We'll be up there on 6 as much as we can. And try to get everything else when we can do it. It's just the ever-present challenges that not just law enforcement, but every single agency in the county faces with the hiring issues that everybody's having right now. You have anything else for me, Jesse?
No, that's great. And I wanted to thank you guys for everything that you guys do. I know you guys are shorthanded, and I was up on the mountain with a couple of your troopers January 2nd on my way over to Tillamook. We had a very stormy day. It was black ice up there, and you had a couple of your troopers up there. And I'm a truck driver, so I actually helped a couple of the trucks chain up and whatnot. And one of your troopers was helping me help the trucker chain up and whatnot. And so it was just awesome to see everybody working together and whatnot. So I just wanted to thank you for doing your part, everything that you guys do. I am very grateful for everything that you guys do and stuff. So, and thank you for being on this call. Okay, so if there's anybody,
Jesse, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I just want to address Sergeant Gordon, and my condolences. I know OSP lost a sergeant in Wallowa County today. And I know that's just a very, very difficult situation. And my condolences to his family and all. It's horrible when something like this happens. So just wanted to mention that.
Thank you.
All right. So if there's if anybody on this call, as far as the public wants to ask anybody that has spoke, or any of the commissioners or state representative or the sheriff or anybody, if anybody wants to ask any questions, or if anybody else on the panel wants to say anything, we're just going to kind of open it up here right now. So.
Jesse, Tyrell Cooper here. I just wanted to chime in, and I want to say thank you to everybody. I've traveled over there several times. Definitely needed. So I appreciate everybody that's on board with this, OSP, the sheriff, Jesse, and all the hard work you've done, commissioners, representatives, ODOT. My hat's off to you guys. So thank you again.
Thank you, Tyrell. All right. So, I don't have anything else to say. I think all my questions have been answered. There's nobody else that wants to say anything.
Hey, Jesse, it's Heather.
Hi.
Hey, Heather was World Transfer. I just wanted to kind of chime in from the trucking standpoint. I just wanted to say I appreciate what everybody's doing here. I appreciate your comment, Commissioner Yamamoto, about the economy as a major transportation company for the local mills and the cheese factory. Highway 6 is a huge lifeline to our community. We sat down and figured out today that our trucking fleet makes approximately 35 trips a day over Highway 6. That's shipping lumber, that's shipping cheese, that's shipping logs. You know, this is pretty important. If something happened to Highway 6 and we were having to reroute around, you know, you're going to have hours of service issues. It's going to take longer to get supplies shipped where it needs to go. It's going to greatly impact our economy. So, yeah, just wanted to say thank you. Also, ODOT, I really appreciate the signage you put up for the school bus stops along Highway 6. That was really awesome. So thanks for doing that.
Thank you, Heather. You know, I think, you know, and the many conversations that I've had with, a lot of this was with state representative, was the economic impact this will have, because, and this kind of got into the TLT funding and the tourism and the frustration that, because the coast is a tourist, it's tourist. So we bring a lot of people over for recreational, but us locals know that we don't have the infrastructure to hold all these people and to take care of all these people, emergency services and road services and just all the things across the board. And so there's a lot of pieces to this puzzle to make it work. And that's why, you know, it comes down to those three things. We, the public, are a big piece of this puzzle to make this. I mean, yeah, we got the infrastructure side of it, but we are a very big a piece to this puzzle to make it work. And you know, I get, you know, things are starting to work when you get hate mail. I get a lot of hate mail now, you know, because things are actually working and they see the cops up there and pulling people over, and my inbox just goes up and whatnot, but that means it's working. And people are, you know, the comments that I get of, well, I don't know when I'll be able to speed going 60, 65 miles an hour over Highway 6 now. Good. You shouldn't be, you know, and it takes all of us to do our part and whatnot. And I am very grateful because, you know, this network, what we've built here on Safety on 6 it isn't me. It's all of us. It's all of us coming together as a collective. And it's not just this highway, but it's in everything that we do in our county. Every single one of us has a voice. We have a presence, and it matters. I, along with 3 other people, stood on the side of the road to get the attention of everybody on this panel. And they seen me and they said, what can we do to help? And it's grown. It's gone. Well, we've in a short 8 months, we've got a House bill put into the House where a law is actually being done, where something's actually going to start being done. And that came with one person standing up. So I just really want to convey to everybody that, you know, your voice does matter. Your vote does matter. People do listen. You know, your county commissioners do listen. They will sit down with you and have coffee with you. I've sat down numerous times with Erin Scar, and we've talked a lot. She's educated me a lot on many different things and whatnot. And we've had we've had coffee and many different discussions and whatnot. And I'm just very grateful. I'm very grateful for everybody working together and just, you know, trying to pull together our resources and try to make this work, because, you know, I know I hear and I see a lot of negativity, you know, out there on social media, and everybody has an opinion. We all know that, right? You know, but who's willing to actually step up and do something about it? And you know, talk to your commissioners and talk to your sheriff and talk to the people that you voted in to work for you and whatnot. So that's all I really got to say. I'm surprised I've lasted this long. But Aaron, do you have anything you want to say, or commissioners?
Well, Jesse, this is Mary Faith. I just want to say thank you very much for organizing this group. And you make an excellent point that one person with a passion and a commitment to act can definitely make a difference. And you're showing us how right now. And I'm really grateful for that. I'm grateful for your activism and for your passion. And I'm grateful to everybody on this call. There's been a lot of great information on this call tonight. I appreciate everyone who's participated. So thank you.
You're very welcome.
I just
go ahead.
So my name is Gail, and my husband was killed on Halloween last year. And it's been just a really wonderful thing that you're doing, because our family was greatly affected. My husband was a firefighter, and he responded to many accidents up there, including the one that killed Wendy and Shelby Mazzei, and which was tragic for our whole community. And when he started working over the hill, I didn't want him to do it, because every year we would say, all right, how many people are going to die this year on Highway 6, you know? And then when he started working, it was like so scary. He would leave an hour earlier before work so that he had an extra hour to account for slides, weather, you know, another accident, maybe, you know, and I mean, it's just unreal that he was one of the ones that was killed. And so I'm just so grateful for everything that everybody's trying to do to make this safer, because as a community, I mean, we're losing people. And there are people who don't want to drive now, don't want to drive Highway 6, including myself. I'm a school bus driver, so I appreciate those signs, but I'm not driving that route. I won't drive that route. And I've told them that, because I can't imagine dropping kids off at the place where my husband was killed because the driver wasn't paying attention or drinking and driving, and there wasn't enough, there wasn't coverage at the time to catch him before he hit my husband. So, and my daughter was injured too, but she's better. But like, I mean, still, it's just got to end. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, everyone.
You're very welcome, Rhoda. And Rhoda will, she's committed to standing with her sign at Goodspeed Park at the 7th of every month. So you can find us on Safety on 6 group on Facebook, and we can figure out a time when she'll update, you know, the page of, you know, the time that she'll be out there. But, you know, it comes down to all of us. We all just stand out there, and that's our part of this as well, is going out there and just, you know, showing awareness to the motorists that are going over that highway, the tourists that use that road that maybe don't know that road is very dangerous, and to give space, to give enough space and whatnot in front of the driver and whatnot, you know. So, you know, Rhoda is committed to the 7th of every month. You know, Berto, that was his favorite number, was 7, and he was the 7th person that died on Highway 6 last year. So thank you, Rhoda, and I'm very sorry for your loss. Does anybody else have anything to say?
So Jesse, I'll just express my thanks to you as well. It's been a fun journey with you, and I'm really, really super impressed with where you have taken Safety on 6, and I look forward to continuing this journey with you. I think that the awareness that you have brought to this, the amount of change that has happened in 8 months, truly is fantastic, and I do thank you as well for your advocacy on this issue. It's very crucial.
Very welcome. Very welcome. Glad to do it. Very glad to do it. And that's the thing, though, is setting the example for everybody else to do it too. Everybody else can step up in something that they're passionate about, especially in the world that we live in right now. There's a lot of darkness and there's a lot of negativity, and one person It's very powerful. I gave a 15-minute speech not too long ago, a few weeks ago at the Capitol, steps at the Capitol. I was asked to speak. I'm actually asked to speak quite often these days. And that's why I'm losing my voice. But we can all make an impact on other people. One person can change one person who could change one person. And it's just by committing, just by standing up for what you honestly believe in and whatnot. And I want to give, a lot of people hope that we will make this highway safer, and it's the long haul. There's a lot of people think that it's going to happen overnight. And it's not. It's going to take a while. But many hands make little work. When we all just come in and chip in a little bit here, chip in a little bit there, we can make a true impact in our community. So if nobody else has anything to say, if you want to wrap it up, Erin.
I will do the official action of thanking everyone for attending tonight. And we will adjourn this meeting at 7:42. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thank you.